Welcome to Talking Knocks. This is a Hard Knocks after show where we're going to be coming in right after every single episode of Hard Knocks. We'll be talking about the show that we just watched. Hard Knocks just aired. It just went off the air not even 10 minutes ago. It is that fresh. We are right here in the studio. I've got my co-host with me. I'm Brent Allen, my co-host, Ren Dax. Ren, how's it going, my friend?
It's going good. 8-hour car trip.
Talk to us about that. Why were you in the car for 8 hours today, my friend?
I thought it would be – I talked myself into it, then I talked myself out of it, and then someone direct messaged me saying, I thought for sure you'd be up at Jacksonville for, the other pod we're doing, and you were nice enough to fill in for the Bucks being up in Jacksonville, the Wren's training camp journal. And when I read that, I'm like, well, now I have to go. But by that time, it was like 2 in the morning. I hadn't gone to bed yet. And I was sort of figuring out, the plan in my head. So I guess I fell asleep around between 2:30 and 3, woke up at 5. I was out the door by 5:30. I really didn't get on the road. So, I had to get coffee and fill the gas tank up and that type of stuff till 6. And I pulled into the parking lot of Jaguars Stadium at like 9:45. And practice started at 10. And then we went out to lunch, and we sort of kicked around the idea about me coming on the journal. But I'm like, that gives me like a 2-hour window to make it home, and I don't know what traffic's like. So I got home about 7. So I guess I was on the road about 2 o'clock, 2:30 latest.
Right.
And I didn't get home till about 7, till about 7:15. And I took a little nap, and yeah, so
well,
here we are.
I'm glad you made it home safe, and honestly, I'd rather have you here for Talking Knocks than on the journal if I had to pick between the two. So welcome to that. Want to give a shout out to everybody who is in our chat room. We are broadcasting live on our InstantCast platform. This is over at mixler.com/the PewterCast. You guys can join us there every Tuesday night immediately following Hard Knocks. You can also join us there following games. Whenever we have a game, we're going to post up an InstantCast. It seems like through the preseason, we're going to pretty much go like immediately after. I think that's how we're going to be able to do it. During the regular season, it's going to be about 9 o'clock at night. So unless we have a 8 o'clock game, in which case it'll just be right after the game. But so shout out to everybody who is over in the chat room. Good to see you guys. Some familiar names over there. Javier and Dan. Nuck is in the chat room. I see that. Kevin Sloan's in the chat room. A couple people who haven't signed in yet. Shout out to you guys as well. Guys, this is not just Ren and I talking about Hard Knocks. You guys get to talk to us as well. This is a call-in show, our phone line. I'm going to go ahead and open it. It's open now. You guys want to call in? Let's talk about Hard Knocks. That number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-BUCKS. And so that's open. You guys can call in at any point that you guys want to. But Ren, I'll kind of toss it over to you first, man. Overall thoughts on the show tonight?
Cole Gardner got his Cummins.
Oh my God, I loved that. I loved that.
I was so happy Jameis went over there. And I mean, first off, what a great episode.
Yeah.
It was sort of filled with those little things, and we got that, honestly, really sort of painful moment with Aguayo.
Yeah. And we all knew it was coming. I think we all wanted it, and we're glad that we're on the other side of it now.
Yeah, but when Jameis, went over to the third string offensive linemen who are, having fun, is like, I'm glad you guys are having fun, but Ryan just hurt his shoulder, and basically letting him know and how upset I was when we did the InstantCast show after the Bengals game at Cole Gardner for Olay and that guy, and like I said, I believe it was Willis, and laid Griffin out and totally shot his chance, getting the number 2. I don't think it's over with yet exactly, but definitely during the preseason he's not going to win it. And telling them, you guys just, ruined this guy's career for the next few weeks. Yeah. Laugh it up. And then walk away. And he said,
yeah, and y'all go ahead and keep having fun. I'm glad y'all having fun.
Yeah, keep having fun.
Yeah.
And it was just like yes. Get him, Jameis.
Dude, we saw Cole Gardner today at training camp as they were kind of heading off, and I had to hold you back from jumping over that fence because you were going to run after him. You were going to bum rush that guy.
Yeah, we're about the same size. Not even close.
Not to mention all the security.
and like the 25-foot drop I would have to traverse first. I saw him and I was like, I was just like, Cole Gardner, like sort of. Oh, here we go.
Hey, here we go. Welcome to Talking Knox. You're on with Brent and Ren. Who do we have calling here for us tonight?
Hey, it's Dan.
Dan, what's going on, my friend? How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, fantastic. That was an awesome show.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It's like, yeah. It's like, I wish all the Sunday games could be like that. It's like having all the team mic'd up.
Ooh, that'd be interesting. Can you imagine on a Tuesday getting that kind of a show like throughout the entire season?
Yeah, that's something I would pay for. Screw that NFL Game Pass stuff. If I could get that, like, the conversations, Dirk was having and Mike Smith was having, I'd pay.
I did the Game Pass once. Wasn't a big fan of it.
I'll tell you, I have Game Pass, because we'll go back and rewatch some of the games and check out the different films. For as much money as the NFL makes, you think that they could make a better online product. I just being brutally honest as far as that, it's not a user friendly product at all with Game Pass.
No, it could be a VIP package or something.
Yeah, it really could, but yeah, this would be a cool show. Now, doesn't like Amazon or something have a similar show to this, but only it follows them through their main season as opposed to just the preseason? Called All or Nothing or All In or something like that.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, they do. It was the Cardinals 2 years ago, and oddly enough, they followed the Rams last year.
Right.
So it's out on Amazon right now. I haven't seen either one. I heard the Cardinals one was pretty good, and I've heard like not a peep about the Rams. I guess because it comes out on Amazon, people binge watch it. So you can watch it like in 2 days, and that's sort of like the buzz around Twitter for a few days, and then after that, it just kind of went away.
Yeah. So getting back to this episode, Dan, what was kind of like just the highlight moment of the whole episode for you?
Single best moment was when Jameis walked up to the O-line.
Yes!
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, you guys having fun? I'm glad you guys are having fun.
Yeah.
Ryan's hurt, but keep on having fun."
Yeah. And did you see the look on their faces? They were all like, crap, we're getting cut.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and they were talking about it because Griffin was doing so well in camp. What they weren't saying was Fitzpatrick really wasn't looking super hot in camp. He was just kind of the old guy veteran. I loved how they kept calling him the old man. Like even the other players, like, oh, there's the old man. There's the old man. The
gray beard.
Yeah, the gray beard. Right. It sounds like a Game of Thrones character himself. But I mean, they were saying how good Griffin was looking, and they were pumping up that particular battle. And just as an overall note, I personally thought that this episode of the of Hard Knocks, this was what I hoped to see out of Hard Knocks, was what we got this particular week. Like last week, I understand it was kind of a setup show. There wasn't really a game. They just kind of had some other things. It seemed to move a little slow. I loved it because it was my Buccaneers, my beloved Buccaneers, But this was what I had hoped to see out of a Hard Knocks episode.
Not as much backstory stuff. I did like seeing Grimes' little sit down where Miko was saying, "Oh no, he talks too. He talks his shit too."
Right.
Which I didn't know. I thought he was just the quiet guy that you always see.
It's always the quiet ones you got to watch out for.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And Joe Dirt. Oh, I think that name's gonna stick.
And he hates it. Like he's like, I don't deserve it. So, it was a throwaway line on a random show of HBO that has meant nothing to him for his entire life, and that's all he's going to be known by. Because I can tell you,
had to Google him to find out who he was.
Right. Oh, he posted a picture. Riley Bullough on his own Twitter account, like tonight during the episode, posted a picture. It was a picture of him next to a picture of Joe Dirt, and on the other side of Riley was a picture of Fabio. And he's like, "Oh, this is getting ridiculous now."
It's just like Doug Martin and the Muscle Hamster. That's stuck for years, and he hates that.
He hates. Yeah, he tried the Duggernaut. He likes the Duggernaut, but he hates the Muscle Hamster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of that whole sort of exchange, I thought the best was his mom. How she's like, just trying to correct it like the mom way. Well, just tell your teammates you're Fabio, not Joe Dirt. Like, yeah, that's what's gonna help. That'll make it go
even
away,
better.
Mom. Yeah,
that's better.
That'll make it go away. Thanks, Mom. Hey guys, my mom said call me Fabio, not Joe Dirt.
Okay, so
enough.
here's the lesson. Here's the lesson that we all learned in that. When you're in the NFL, don't have your mom on Hard Knocks.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Just don't have your mom on Hard Knocks. That'll solve that problem for you right there.
Yeah, I also like seeing the cryo chamber. I would have liked a little more technical knowledge on it.
Yeah, I had that as a note as well. That was one of the things that we had talked about. It was actually one of my top 3 picks on episode 41, I believe it was, of just things we were looking forward to seeing on Hard Knocks. I said, I want to see the cryo chambers, and I want to see how they use them. It was interesting to see, they got the guy counting down, and they're like, get it out of here. But, I made that note. I would have liked to have seen a little more explanation of what that is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if you're not a Buccaneers fan, like, I didn't even know those things really existed till we got them last year. And if I'm just watching Hard Knocks, it probably would have took me a good 15, 20 seconds to sort of put together what that is. What am I looking at?
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting to see the difference between what each player, because it's not like a set temperature. They get to pick what they go in at and what the positive and negatives, compare body weight and what the degrees are, things like that. So yeah, I'm with you. I wish
they should do they could do a how it works episode for it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I don't even need I don't even need that much of an explanation. Just this is a cryo chamber, and we use this instead of giving them ice baths, and it constricts their veins super fast and helps them get better faster. And you go, oh great, that's all I need to know. It helps them get better faster than ice baths. Just something to say this is fancy. This isn't just something that every team has in their locker room. Maybe they do now. I don't know. But yeah, man, it was good. There was some fun stuff, definitely some fun stuff that we got to see in this episode.
Did you guys feel bad for Roberto as he's walking down that long hallway?
Yes.
Knowing what was coming?
Yeah, that was the hard part. That's always the hard part. I've been fired before, and it's hey, you get that sort of talk, Coach wants to see you, bring your playbook. You've got that from work before I have. So Ren,
the
hardest walk is getting to the office. Once you're in the office and the door's closed, it's kind of okay, the embarrassment's sort of over. But everyone looking at you and seeing you as you're walking towards the coach's office, and they know what's coming. That's the hardest part.
It's the Green Mile.
Yeah, it really and for this particular one, it happened on a day when most of the team wasn't there. It was an off day. So they had to call him up and say, hey, you need to come over. Coach has to talk to you. You're going to meet in Jason Light's office. There's no question in your mind what that is at that point,
Yeah.
Yeah, after having that game.
So I gotta be honest, and this may sound weird coming from me. I didn't feel bad for him watching him walk away. It just, and maybe it's because we've had several days. We knew what was coming. We knew how that particular one was going to end. It was almost like watching a prequel type of a movie. You know, we know Anakin's going to turn into Darth Vader. We just want to see how it happens. You know, you're not sad when he walks away as Darth Vader. He's gone, you know. But I don't know. I guess it does get you in the feels a little bit. But, here's the note that I made about that was, I'm
not with 19.
No, I didn't make that note. Although I could have. Rip hashtag I'm with 19. I liked that Jason didn't bury the lead. You know, he sat down with Roberto and just said, hey, look, there's no easy way to do this. So I'm just going to say it. We're going to release you. And, you know, Dirk talking about it afterwards with the press conference saying, hey, listen, this isn't something we take lightly. We understand that we're dealing with a person's career and a person's life. They still have to make the best decision for the team. But it's not just a willy-nilly, hey, I don't like this guy anymore, I'm just going to get rid of him. It's not that kind of a deal. Like, they really, even Light and Dirk take it personally. And as you guys have both said, and me too, I've been fired before as well, I would much rather be fired from a boss who understands that and has that in their head than somebody who is just going through with the chopping axe. You know, the end result is the same, but still, you know, to at least know that they had that, that ups my respect level a lot for Dirk and for Jason, just on a leadership level too with the team. Yeah.
The silver lining for Roberto is that he was immediately signed by Chicago.
Yes, and relieved us of his salary cap hit, which was
of his salary
great.
cap. And you know what would blow everybody's mind is if we end up getting.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Do not say it.
I think we all know what he's about to say, everyone. Can't be Connor Barth coming back.
And
Connor Barth coming back. Come on.
Okay. No, I thought you were going to. Right when he got cut, there was a few storylines on Twitter about, how funny it would be if, you know, Roberto Aguayo came and got the winning kick week 2, you know, at our home opener. And
no.
Yeah, I didn't like that line at all.
I wish him the best, but not that good.
Right, there you go. That's a good way to put it. I wish him the best, but not that much best. So
yeah. No, getting Connor Barth back.
Yeah. That could be fun. I don't know. That'd be interesting. I will say this. Did you guys see that when the news came out that the Bucks had it might have even been the Bucks own Twitter account when they said the Bucks have released kicker Roberto Aguayo? Connor Barth liked that tweet.
Oh,
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
wow.
pretty funny.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Dan. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to clear this phone line so other people can call in, man. But thank you so much for calling in and giving us your takes on the show tonight, man.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye.
All right, guys. Hey, phone line is open. The phone number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. You guys are welcome to call in and talk to us about anything having to do with tonight's episode. Ren, I'm not quite sure where we were, but I'll toss it to you to pick up wherever you want.
Well, before we put this Aguayo, you know, sort of thing to bed, do you think him getting cut bumped Chris Godwin's sort of piece that was supposed to air this week? Because remember the promo, there was like him and his girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Remember, and it wasn't in the show,
right?
So
at all.
I think that Roberto getting cut, they had to go back and sort of rehash their plans and you know, squeeze it in there at the end, and it sort of, you know, bumped Godwin off.
Yeah,
which I just thought was interesting.
They only have so many minutes, and you know, it's because as soon as that happened, because you know that they already had. I mean, like right now, they already probably have at least 50% of the next episode already cut and ready to go. You know, they're saving for the game, right? They're saving, you know, and for anything that might come out. And they may even have, you know, let's say 40 minutes of it ready, and they have like a list of, okay, if something happens that's better than this, then we'll cut that. And that may be something that got cut. I don't know if they're going to, I think the real question is are they going to bump that to another episode, or is that one just now on the cutting room floor?
I think they'll. Yeah, that's a good point. I thought maybe that we'd see it in the previews tonight, like again.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they don't want to preview it twice, so it might just show up as a surprise next episode, or like you said, it just might hit the floor because the Aguayo thing, and then about the time they get to, Godwin and doing, hey, third round wide receiver Chris Godwin, I thought he should have done better. Before they get to his off the field story, it just might be too late. I mean, there's only 4 episodes left.
Is it
right?
4? I think it's 3. I think there's only 3 episodes left after this one.
Well, they got 3 more games, and then don't they finish it up? Isn't there like a pre-one?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never done Hard Knocks before.
Good point. 5 or 6. If there's 5, then there's only 3 more. If there's 6, then there's 4.
I think we go into like right in the first week of September with Hard Knocks. So, which will be right after that Redskins game. I don't know if they have one more after that or not. We'll find out. Somebody there in the chat room, if you guys know, drop it in and let us know. Speaking of the chat room, Ren, before we get back to what you were going to say, Javier, our friend Javier out of Panama, not going to be able to call in tonight, he says, but he's dropping some stuff here in the chat room. He says his highlight was where Jameis was going around fist bumping everybody in the locker room, saying, I got your back, I got your back, I got your back. What'd you think of that, Ren?
Got your back, got your back, got your back, got your back. Yeah, that was fine. I mean, that's something I expected from Jameis, not too surprising, from all the stories we hear. And we listen to a lot of podcasts, and the beat reporters that are around there always are saying something that Jameis has done, and just exemplifies being a leader. So it wasn't too surprising for me. I still, like, for me, and not to like rehash it, but that was my leadership moment tonight. Was keep laughing, like ha ha ha, like you got some guy hurt, but have fun. That was sort of it for me. But yeah, I mean, Jameis came off great tonight. But for me, and I think probably even casual fans who are just sort of watching this, I think that line, I just talked about it, is the one that hits it. But going to a lighter note, and I know I'm skipping all the way to the end, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget it. What about when Allie hadn't seen Game of Thrones yet, and they're saying stuff like dragons? He's like, no, that's too. He's like, it's too much already. He's like, stop. He's like, it's already too much. And then Holly comes in, like flapping his arms with his big old beard, like getting in his face, going like, rah, rah. Oh my God. I thought that was hilarious.
It was hilarious. So, I had actually seen that scene. They had released it on Twitter.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it was HBO or Enough Films or somebody had released that scene. So I had forgotten about it, honestly, until we got to that spot. But yeah, it was really funny. I mean, and Gerald McCoy was not. He was not just gonna get off that, super easy. You haven't seen it yet? You've got to go watch it. He's like, I'm waiting for a day off. He's like, no, you need to go watch it. Which
Speaking of Gerald McCoy, what about that Bat Cave, that Batman cave he had, or Bat Caveman?
Yeah, so Javier asks in the chat room, he says, do we find the focus on Gerald's superheroes love appealing? Here's what I'll say. I thought that was really cool to see. I don't necessarily need them wasting minutes in a show like Hard Knocks showing me that kind of stuff. Kind of like, you remember last week you were talking about how, some of the home stuff and all that, like, right. You just didn't care about that. That's right. How I was personally feeling about a lot of that extra stuff. Like watching, who was it? Folk and Brian Enger or Fitzpatrick or somebody, like they're like in the little paddle boat on their day off. Like, right. Yeah, I didn't really care about that. I want to, this is training camp. This with the Buccaneers. This is the hardest 5 weeks of their life. Unless something happened in that little boat that's going to impact the team, I don't really care. So I thought it was interesting. I would prefer to see that like on a special feature of the DVD of Hard Knocks, not like necessarily in a main episode. That's me. That's my own personal opinion.
I hear you. I don't think it was too much. I think it was just enough, really. And I thought it was a cool explanation about how he, why he compares himself to Batman, because he's human and, he's trying to match up against these superhuman athletes. Mm-hmm. And just to spin off that, what about today, your conversation with Robert Ayers?
Oh, hey, I didn't talk about this.
I know.
So in our training camp journal today, we released that earlier today, several hours ago. And thank you to everybody who's been listening to it. If you haven't, it's in our podcast feed. You can pick it up. Wait till this show's over, those of you in the chat room. And if you're listening to this on the podcasting platform later, do whatever you want. Pause it and go listen, or keep listening here and go listen to that later. But one story that I did not tell was this occurred at the end of practice when I said we're up at the top of the bleachers kind of cheering on the team. And I said I got a little more chattery with the team a little bit today. Some of them like recognized me from yesterday, which was kind of cool. Saw Robert Ayers coming by, and I'm standing up there and knowing that Ren has often told this story about how he and Ayers would get into it about whether or not Batman was really a superhero or something like that. I just sort of threw out to Robert Ayers as he was walking by. I said, "Hey, Batman's not a real superhero." And he turns around and starts
and he perked right up.
Oh, yeah, he sure did.
He spun around like, hey, who said that? Yeah.
If he'd had a ball, he would have thrown it at me. I'm sure he would have.
He was Mean Joe Green. He would hand you his Coke, or his jersey. I mean, you had to hand him his Coke. I guess the Batman not a superhero comment was the Coke, and he would have tossed you his jersey.
Yeah,
like that. But yeah, he yelled up after you, as he was disappearing around the corner, "'Cause he's human,"
Right.
So
I mean, honestly, it was the same answer that Gerald gave. It's, hey, he's human. Anybody, you could do that if you're human. So, but yeah, that was a fun little thing from earlier today with Robert Ayers.
And to get back at what you were saying, I thought it was sort of the perfect amount with Gerald McCoy. I don't need to see any more of his Batman little, comic book cave.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the carpets were ugly as hell, but that's just me. And the thing with Nick Folk was they had to put it in there this episode. That was just sort of B-roll stuff, and it's like, well, if Nick Folk becomes sort of a storyline, then we have this little background with his wife and his kids, and it's like, hey, we've been here 7 years, and we're just trying, if he does his job, then we have a place to live, type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to be in this show because he was the guy who was staying.
Right. And not to mention they got very clear Dirk Cutter saying, I think Nick Folk is our kicker.
Yeah, before they even cut him.
Exactly. He said Nick Folk is our kicker.
And he reiterated it after the press conference of the first Jags practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because someone asked him, have you seen the new kicker? And he's like, the new guy? He's like, no. He's like, but I've seen our kicker.
Right.
Nick Foley made 5 out of 6.
I'll tell you, the both days this week, I didn't see Hawker once. I saw him walking to the locker room, but I didn't see him kick at all. And I'm sure he did. I'm sure it was way out on the third field, but he didn't come over and kick in any of the big drills against the Jags. Like, it was just Folk the whole week.
I didn't even think to look for him, to be honest. When I was there today. So.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part, Brett?
My favorite part,
or something we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, actually, I've got a question for you about something that I was thinking about you. Through your training camp journals, you talked an awful lot about Gerald McCoy's cleats.
Right.
And we never quite found out what that fourth set of cleats was, did we?
No, still haven't.
Still haven't. But did you notice the socks?
I thought about that. I was like, leave it to Hard Knocks to outscoop me. Like, they get all, they get all the inside information. I was the only one who was on the cleat gate, like, every day. What's he wearing? Is today Wolverine? Is today Batman and Joker? Is today the Hulk? What's the mysterious fourth pair? And then Hard Knocks is like, oh yeah, by the way, he's wearing, famous wrestler socks all training camp. I'm like, you bastards.
Mm-hmm. And he's got a different pair every day.
Yeah, they outscoop me.
So there was that. So that's you just is that you admitting defeat there on that then, Ren?
That's a tip of the hat, a quaff of the hat, if you will. The Hard Knocks. I'm not going to admit defeat. I mean, they get to go where I can. Like, they're in the locker room and stuff. So, if I was there, I would have had that story way earlier. But I'm just saying.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'm gonna get back to the question that you asked me about something we've not talked about yet, because I've got something I really want to talk about. But I do want to respond to something Dan, who we just heard from. He said, "Hey, this is kind of off topic." He's throwing this out in the chat room. He says, "Any word on whether or not we're going to get an Ali Marpet and Donovan Smith show this year?" You and I have both talked about how that was hands down the best show. Lots of good shows. I thought the Robert Ayers show was really good last year. Jameis's show, obviously, I think was really good. I don't even remember it was supposed to be Vincent Jackson, but then he got hurt and they just did a rotating thing, and then they had their other guest, I think is what it was. But they had a really great show. We meant to ask them. You meant to ask Ali as he was walking by today.
Yeah, I thought after he already walked by, I was like, man, we should have asked him the show, because we did ask Donovan. Remember when he was like, right close to us during that second day when you were down here in Tampa, he sort of stepped over the mesh fencing, was in the stands. And I said it, I was like, Donovan, you're going to do the radio show? And there's like no answer whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And you just picked up on it, in your big voice. You're like, Donovan, and and we're almost like, I could reach out and touch his shoulder pad, without having to move. We were really close. Right. And then, he heard it, but he didn't like look up or anything. It was just sort of like, I don't know, man. He's like, don't know yet. So it's up in the air. I have been thinking about sending that question into Bucks Live.
Do it.
Yeah. So Casey
anything we can do. Yeah. Anything we can do to sway that, to bring that show back. I think we absolutely should do that.
Yeah. Cause we lost Greg Allman on the Locked On Bucks, but he's doing the cannon fodder for the Times. But, last year he did sort of that daily podcast, the Locked On Bucks podcast, and he's sort of doing, like I said, the same thing with cannon fodder. But it's just, those were kind of like my go-to. Like I always like to listen to Greg's Locked On, because it was like 20 minutes long, 25 minutes long, and it was like, this is what happened. Like, this is who's injured, this is the update, this is who got cut, this is who got moved to the practice squad, all that stuff. He gave it to you like in 15, really like 15 minutes. The last 5 minutes are sort of questions and stuff. So that's why I really like that podcast. And then just for the sheer entertainment value of Ali and Donovan, which I want to call two big guys making pancakes, has double meaning. I tweeted that in last year. They didn't use it. Actually, I said two fat guys making pancakes.
Oh,
but I mean, that was before they had their whole big guy problems. Sort of thread they went through with every show. So two big guys making pancakes. The Ali and Donovan show. Yeah. I'm hoping for it.
Yeah, we're hoping for it. Dan, I think the official answer from at least Donovan, and I'm going to assume Ali, is they haven't heard themselves yet. Like, they don't know. So I think that's the official word on that. Real quick, I also want to say, give a shout out to all the new people who have joined us in Mixler. Several people have just jumped on. So, hey, to everybody who is listening to us, you guys are on with us, mixler.com/the PewterCast. I do want to let you guys know our phone line is open. You guys, if you want to call in and chat with us about what we just saw on Hard Knocks, any topic, no matter what, even if we've already talked about it, if you still want to go back and talk about it, we'll talk about it with you. That number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. You guys just call in and we'll get to talk to you. I will remind you, we only have one phone line. So with when we answer this one, we'll see.
There is no phone line.
There is no other one. We'll call you afterwards. But let's find out who this is. You are on with Brent and Ren with Talking Knocks. Who are we talking to here today?
Hey, Chef. Hey, kids.
Chef.
Hey, Chef. Hey, kids. What's up, Chefy?
Chef, did you get to watch Hard Knocks tonight?
I actually went through the Twitter feed on my phone with all the highlights. I get off of work super late at work, so I don't get to watch the episode until I get home. But I saw the highlights, and it looked like a pretty dramatic episode, especially with the Aguayo cutscene. So
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I said this a few minutes ago. In my opinion, I think that this was exactly what we want to see out of a Hard Knocks episode.
But is that what you want to see, you sadist?
I think it's what we all want to see because I'm the everyman, and they edit just for me. No, they don't at all.
Oprah.
I liked it. Chef, I 100% give this episode my stamp of approval, and that and $5 will buy you a cup of coffee from Starbucks.
$5.50. So what other highlights did you see?
What highlights did you see that stood out to you, bro?
Well, I did like seeing the Mike Smith, his reactions and all that stuff to players missing their assignments, and his reaction to just casting them out and saying what they're doing wrong. I thought that was a very nice behind-the-scenes look at even on the game days on what the coaches are saying to the players and telling them where they need to be, and even busting their ass when they're not doing the right job. So I gave a nice sneak peek at to what it actually is like on game days for the coaches.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to say it's so funny, but to a man, everyone says that Mike Smith is such a nice guy, such a great guy. He's so soft-spoken in his press conferences. And, he's up there almost like a fan. Like, he's standing up out of his seat, and he's cursing and yelling. He's like, where's the guy in the flat? Where's the guy? We shot the wrong gap. And then I thought when Driscoll scored, he just, laughs, and just sort of looks to his right and goes, quarterback. So I really like that whole that scene up in the press box with Mike Smith, too. That's the most animated I've ever seen him, and that's even including going back to when he was head coach of the Falcons.
Yeah, I love that part. Yeah. You can almost tell, Mike Smith, when some of that was happening, he's going, well, that guy's getting cut. I'm cutting that guy, too. He ain't staying on my team. You could almost see that, just the sheer frustration, oh, what are you guys doing?
What is up with you?
I will say that Riley Bullough is really starting to. I thought we were going to see Quan steal the show stealer of Hard Knocks, but it's really become Riley Bullough. I mean, that guy. If that guy doesn't make the roster, he's got to be their practice squad because there's no way that guy should leave $1 without a roster spot.
Yeah, he's becoming the darling of the editing squad there for Hard Knocks, isn't he?
Oh yeah, it's not one scene you can't go where he's not saying an F-bomb or just showing players what they're needing to be doing. It's almost like looking at a backup Jameis Winston in a way, or a backup Quan Alexander.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what he would be if he was on the squad. Obviously, he'd be a special teams guy, but he would also be that backup Mike linebacker. Having to beat out who would he beat out? He'd beat out Adarius Glanton, maybe even Kendall Beckwith, at least for that spot. So.
Yeah, it all depends on when Bond comes back. Bond was in a leg brace today at practice, so who knows how long that's
is that a bad injury on Bond?
We don't know. I mean, you know about as much as everybody knows. When Cutter said, it's going to be weeks instead of months, and that's pretty much about it. And he was just happy to be standing in front of me, and I looked down, and he was in a leg brace. So I took a picture and tweeted it out, Bond, leg brace, left leg, number 59. That's, that's all I know. That's the first time I've seen or you've seen him since the game. So, like the injury with Griffin, they said it keep saying Cutter said that it's a week injury, as in weeks. It will take weeks instead of months, and that always correlates in my head to under 8 weeks, because 8 weeks is 2 months, and that turns it in from weeks to months. So, don't know about Bond.
Yeah, it'll be
interesting to see with Griffin and Bond on who probably goes on the if they do go on the PUP list at all. It'll be interesting if those two end up landing there.
Yeah, it's there's no Bond, Griffin. I mean, any of those guys. It'll be interesting to see what they do with them. What do we do with Bond? He was a draft pick. Are we going to let him ride a IR for 2 years, for his first 2 years, and keep paying him? It'll just be interesting to see how we do that.
Yeah, it comes to the point where you either know a player is just gonna have an unfortunate luck with injuries, or if he is actually gonna be able to contribute to your team. It's all about the roster space. I mean, I am one of those people that thought having Griffin on, the squad for the 53 for the last 2 years and just basically reserving that third spot for him was a big mistake because we could have had like an extra spot for some other player that could contribute on like either the defense or the offense or the special teams. But I mean, from what it looks like, Griffin before his injury, he looked like he had the backup spot basically secured. But now it's going to be interesting with Ryan Fitzpatrick if he can get his excuse my French, head out of his own ass and actually do what he needs to do, or if they're going to bring in another player. I know a lot of or some fans out there are looking into Kaepernick. I'm one of those, but if Lights wanted Kaepernick, I think Kaepernick would have been on the roster by now.
Yeah, Cutter came out and said at a press conference that he said they were going to bring in a new kicker and they were not going to bring in an extra quarterback, and they've done exactly that. They got a kicker, basically a leg for camp leg, if you will, but they're just going to roll Sefo Lufau. He's just going to take third string reps now instead of just being a camp arm. And that's how they're going to roll through preseason.
Yeah, and to bounce off that, Ren, and I have to apologize, Buck's Princess, Nikki is in the chat room, and our princess has sent out a decree that there is no spoilers for Hard Knocks. Sorry, Princess.
What are you doing listening to the show?
Exactly. I am totally going to fly in the face of that. Yeah, no, she's fun. She's joking over there. But wait, how did I get here talking about this? What were you just? Talking about Fitzpatrick. When Griffin went down in that preseason game, what we turned around and we heard from Cutter was him saying, "Get Sefo up here, or get Sefo up here. He's going in because we're not going to risk losing Fitzpatrick at this point." He's like, we'll put Sefo in there if he gets injured. Who cares? We've already lost Griffin. We're not losing our other backup guy right now.
Yeah, and he's right, and it's true. And I didn't really think of that. I've sort of said that when Fitzpatrick got in there after Griffin went down, he was behind the third string. Like, he was just getting rid of the ball just not to get hurt. And for some reason, it never clicked in my head to think that, well, yeah, because if he goes down, we're really screwed. If say he went down and hurt his shoulder, and Griffin nor Fitzpatrick, the two Ryans, will be like, the earliest is week 3. So now we got to go into week 1 and 2 with who as our backup quarterback? Who we're going to have to bring somebody else into camp, and they're going to have to learn the offense from scratch. So I can't believe that clicked, but that's why he's the head coach, and he's like, get Fitzpatrick out of there, get Blue Cow in there, because we can't lose this guy right now.
Right, and it'll be interesting to see going forward in the other games too.
The bottom line is, when we go into the season, if Winston goes down, we're pretty much effed as is. I mean, the season will be lost. I mean, without Winston, this team, I love the talent that we have on the team, but Winston is the main reason why, like, we are on the path that we are on with his leadership and his intangibles. So the Cowboys, the Cowboys last year, they got lucky with the whole Dak Prescott situation. If the Bucks, if Winston unfortunately were to go down, we'd be as good as screwed.
Yeah, and you're basically repeating what Gerald McCoy said on last week's episode of Hard Knocks. He said, any of these other guys go down 58, 54, 97, any of those guys, they all go down, whatever. It's all about number 3. Number 3 goes down,
I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah,
Gerald McCoy knows what's up.
Yeah, he knows what's up, and so. He certainly said that. Nikki's asking about how bad Griffin's injury is. From the reports that we've heard, that he should be out several weeks. It's not a season-ending thing. It's not going to require surgery. He should be out several weeks, but I can attest he was at practice both yesterday and today. He was kind of bucket hat brigading it. He wasn't participating. Yeah, we got a thumbs up from him as he was walking by. So he is around. He has not been cut by the team. Mark Cook kind of posited that the Bucks might still be looking at all their options with him. I've got to imagine by now, this far into it, if they were going to make a move on Ryan Griffin, they would have probably done it by now. So I tend to think, and this is just me, I tend to think they're probably going to hang on to him at least till the 90-man cut down and see what's going on with him. That's just my personal opinion of what's going on. Now, Nikki talks about the curse of Fitzpatrick, saying it's begun. Nikki, you can correct me on this, or Chef, if you do as well. This is talking about just the idea that when Fitzpatrick comes onto a team, the other quarterbacks around him get hurt, so it makes him be the guy who has to get in there and play. She said she's terrified.
Well, I do understand Nikki's concerns and all that stuff, but I was listening to your guys' latest podcast episode, and I do agree with Ren in the way that Fitzpatrick is working on a backup role, whereas on the other teams, he was basically competing for the starter role, and that's pretty much the whole curse of Fitzpatrick is he would be lumped into the starter position. This is more being lumped into the backup position, which is where Griffin was. So I gotta side more on Ren, but I do agree. I do understand Nikki's hesitation and her skepticism when it comes to the whole Fitzpatrick curse. I do understand her when it comes to that.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out a way to make myself feel better, and that's what I came up with. He's not really in competition with Jameis. He was in competition with Ryan. And now that the curse has taken over, it's sort of moved on. It's already hit the team and it's over with. So that, like I said, that was just so I could make myself feel better, to sleep a little better at night.
Well, I just say what we need to do is call a witch doctor and do whatever kind of voodoo we need to do to stop this whole thing right here. Chef, thank you so much for calling in tonight, man. It's yeah. Chef, it's always good to talk to you, my friend. We've got the InstantCast coming up, so hopefully we'll get to hear back from you on that for the InstantCast show later on this week.
My pleasure, guys. It was great talking to you as always.
All right, Ren.
Go Bucks.
All right, Chef, you have a great one. Go Bucks.
Thanks, Chef. You called Chef Ren.
I did. Well, trying to keep it all straight. Hey, guys, phone line is open. Anybody wants to call in and talk about tonight's episode of Hard Knocks, that number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. Nikki is explaining more about the curse of Fitzpatrick. I'm going to let that chill in the chat room. Ren, you asked me a question a minute ago before Chef called in about what my favorite part was or something that we haven't talked about yet that I wanted to talk about. And for this, I'll actually go back to a little bit of a prediction that I made for you and me about 24 hours ago right now when we were recording episode number 42, which released earlier today, talking about how the stick carriers were going to be portrayed on the episode of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. That's right. That's why I wanted Javier to call in at the beginning. I know he can't, and I'm not guilting or pining away for him to call it Javier. But I wanted to get his reaction as, because he flew in from Panama for Stick Carrier Day. He flew in from Panama, for the draft party. So, he's invested as anybody else, and sort of his reaction of how he felt, because I was a little disappointed. You heard them, but you never saw them, and they were never really mentioned. So, but you can use that footage that they got in that, just that day. You can use it all throughout training camp and sort of insert it whenever you want to. But I was sort of looking for a little stick carrier recognition this show, and I was disappointed we didn't get it.
Yeah, and hey, I 100% understand that. Dan in the chat room is kind of saying something very similar, that he's disappointed they didn't touch more on the stick carriers. And I get that, and I kind of share that feeling, because that's a storyline really in and of itself. But kind of to the point that I was making was seeing how they're putting together the show and the kinds of things that they're doing. I just don't know how they'll have time to go in and really talk about that and show that. So I think they did it really in kind of the best way of where they opened the show. That's what I kind of, I know they had the cold open dealing with the heat, but once the opening credits rolled, they opened the show with us hearing about the stick carriers and seeing Jameis come out all pumped up, and seeing once again what was a moment that scared me, which is he's going up doing that big fist pump in the air, and he comes down and he falls and he lands funny. Freaked me out when I saw that the first time live. Freaked me out a little bit again watching this, although I knew he was going to turn and bounce up and turn it into a cartwheel. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen more on that. I just don't know what else they can do. But as you said, they are very obviously editing this together and showing it to us very much out of order. So it's conceivable that even though you and I and the people within the sound of our voice knows that that chanting and those cries from the stands really were from one day, from one practice, that
right.
We could see that pop up conceivably throughout the course of the series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a much broader explanation of sort of what I just said. Not trying to be funny, but yeah, I mean, you just sort of, explained a little better. Yeah. So yeah, agree 100%. Like, you can insert that sort of like audio and footage whenever you want to. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully we'll get to see a little more in the following episodes. The end.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was that. There was also something else that I thought I really liked it. There was a bit of a shot where they show D-Jax and Evan sitting on the bench talking to each other, and they're talking about, I think, LeBron. And they're going back and forth about whether or not he's really good. And D-Jax was just saying, yeah, he's really good, but I mean, look, he couldn't win the championship where he was. He had to switch teams so he could go win the championship. And Evans turns around and looks at him and goes, well, so did you.
Yeah, I know.
I love that.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's your. Well, what team are you on now? What's this, your ninth?
Right.
No. I just thought it was. I like how he was just so upfront about it. Like, if LeBron isn't in your top three, you hate him. Like, that was it. That was his line. Like, if LeBron's not your top three of all time, then you just hate his guts and you're ridiculous. You don't know basketball. I like that part too, but yeah, that was a little funny. It's like, well, you had to go, switch teams to make a championship. We just sort of look over at him like, well,
because we're going to go to a championship this year. Damn it, that's the undertone of what's there. So I thought that was a lot of fun. So I liked that. The other one that I mean, how could you not have loved the whole bit about the end zone celebrations? Gerald McCoy up there doing a Tootsie Roll. Can't be sexual. This ain't sexual. It's from the knees. It's not from the hips.
I like how he sort of broke it down, facial expression. Like, well, if I face like this, it's a penalty. If I face like this, it's not a penalty. Like, one, I'm doing it. One, I'm just dancing. I mean, obviously you can tell the difference. I thought that was a pretty good point. Obviously it's not going to be that sort of fine line, gray area when coming to the penalty. I just don't think anyone should do it. Mm-hmm. Because if it's going to be like that, where it's like, it kind of sounds like the Ed Sullivan Show. When Elvis came on the Ed Sullivan Show and they always shot him from the waist up because, he used to move his hips. I have sort of a feeling it's like that. Like, you can't fire a gun at anybody or shoot an arrow at anybody, and then you can't basically swivel your hips like you're doing it, and everything else is okay. It's just it's very, very odd. And I understand why they're sort of trying to take the sexual thing out of it, because Gerald was doing is sort of funny, but if you allow that, then the next step and the next step and next step, and then you got guys like humping the goalposts and stuff like that, which I'm sure the NFL doesn't want.
Right.
But I just thought it was really cool how you could sort of forget how smart Gerald is, and so he does the exact same dance. And he's like, penalty, no penalty, penalty, no penalty. So yes, that was cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean, and even the ref that they had out there, Ed Hockley. Hockley, thank you. He was saying, "Hey, listen, that's a 15-yard penalty." Now, I personally, I would like to see the NFL, and I'm glad that they've made the steps this year that they have. It is a step in the right direction. I think they got more ways to go of allowing. Remember, this is a sport. This is supposed to be something fun. Like, allow these guys to have some fun and to celebrate. But I also understand that, hey, you've got to draw a line somewhere because you can't just allow anything and everything to go. So, where they draw the line, well, that's where they draw the line. So I don't want to see any of our guys pick up a 15-yard penalty. But I would like to see them, be able to celebrate a little bit more and have a little bit more fun, after a touchdown or something of that nature. So, and then it was just good to see, it seems to me, and I don't know if this is just the way Hard Knocks is editing it, or if this is what it is, but Gerald McCoy seems to be the guy who is smiling the most on the team, really having, it seems like to me, like the most fun out there, with what he's doing. So it just seems to me like that through what we're seeing on Hard Knocks.
Like, you're not getting sort of a Jameis and McCoy separate, little big block of storyline, but I think these are the two guys they're focusing on. They're going to be in every episode. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're going to get a little bit of Jameis and a little bit of Gerald every episode, because that's who Hard Knocks has picked as like leader of the defense and leader of the offense. Mm-hmm. And and that's Gerald being Gerald. That's how he is, and he's not deathly serious on the football field, and that's sort of a little bit of that feeds into why some of the early Buck fans, or I guess he sort of got the 8 ball. He got behind the 8 ball very early, and since he hasn't sort of reached that 10 sack total, a lot of Buck fans are still sort of down on him. Mm-hmm. My theory on that has always been is that he got hurt the first 2 years as a Buccaneer, like mm-hmm. Basically ripped a pec, and then the next year ripped the other pec, or like one was a tricep, the next year ripped a pec. It was sort of out early, and at the time the Bucks were definitely on their downward spiral. The glory days of the Brooks and Sapp, they were gone. Mm-hmm. And then we had this high draft pick, and we just had that worst draft pick ever by the Bucks poll for episode 42, and there was like probably 8 names you could have put in that you could have done 2 polls.
Oh yeah.
So there was that feeling of like, okay, here we go, another bust, a number 3 pick. This guy's not going to pan out. But after those first 2 years, he's been great. But sort of since he's never hit that sort of 10 sack plateau, and that early 2 years, 32 games of being behind the 8 ball where he couldn't do anything. So we had this draft pick, and 32 games later, and he still barely touched the field. He had to start from such a hole to climb his way out, and for some fans he just hasn't done it. And I think it's a little bit of the hair. I think he has terrible hair and has always had terrible hair.
What about Vernon Hargreaves' hair? I heard some people standing behind us today saying he needs to cut his hair in the stands today.
Oh, that lady over on your left shoulder?
Yeah.
She was quite a character.
Now, what about Quan? Talking about hair. Let's talk about Quan's hair. What about him?
Well, his hair's fine. He dyed it. He made a choice. But you can tell it's already. He's not. I don't think he's gonna re-dye it. I think that was a Hard Knocks choice only, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And then I like Vernon's hair. I've never quite seen. You've seen the dreadlocks, but the way he wears it, where he sort of pushes he has like a forward ponytail. So he kind of like sort of does a ponytail, but then he has it all the dreads are pointing forward over the top of his forehead, or front ways. So I dig it. I think it's pretty cool. I really don't care much about hair. I guess I shouldn't have brought it up, and now you're like making me talk about it. That was supposed to be like a little period on the anecdote there. I don't want to talk about hair anymore. So
we'll forego the conversation about Riley Bullough's hair. But let's stay on Quan. Didn't see a whole lot of Quan in this episode at all.
I think he's coming next episode.
Yeah, me too.
He got a little bit of a sniff, Cutter jumping in his butt. Don't give me that look. It's a penalty. It's a hold. Right. God damn it! You just cost us the game. So yeah, I'll be excited. First off, I think all the episodes are nice. And when Kwan's episode will come, I think will be a favorite episode among the fans. But what about how Robert McClain had sort of zero splash? He was sort of the Riley Bullough this week, like the surprise guy they were featuring that no one sort of knew about, and like nothing, like no one's mentioned him, no one cares about it, like no one has said a word. I mean, I just thought that was sort of interesting how Riley Bullough was surprised and now he's sort of going strong, and then Robert McClain, and it was weird how they said Robert McClain's going to be the guy who has to step up when Brent Grimes goes down, when we all know it's Ryan Smith. Because McClain's playing the slot.
Right.
So it's just those sort of like things they switch up a little bit for TV, which if you follow the team closely, is not true. But I guess they had a lot more roll on Robert McClain and maybe no B-roll on Ryan Smith, so they had to sort of like shift it to that direction.
It's the magic of TV editing. They can make it do whatever they want.
Sort of make stuff up.
Yeah. I hadn't noticed that, but I'm doing just a kind of a quick peripheral search through Twitter and on Facebook, and you're right. There is zero talking about Robert McClain. A lot of people still mentioning. I see Joe Dirt pop up a lot through here as I'm going through it. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because he certainly was a little bit of the unsung darling of this particular episode. We got kind of the Riley Bullough part 2 in this episode, but the new character, the new guy brought in, Robert McClain.
That's my boy, number 46. That's our son.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw like his kid,
you look like Fabio.
Beautiful little daughter. I'm talking about Robert McClain. Had beautiful daughter and the family, and hey, listen,
and his drawings were really good.
Yeah, like great drawings. I think he was shown making some pretty decent plays. The kind of the highlights they pulled out of him. But it's just not catching on with the fans.
Yeah.
And no offense to any fans out there, I would just say thank God that we, the fans, are not the guys who are picking who's going to be on the squad. That's actually left up to the coaches, because they're going to see film and things that we don't necessarily. If we had to pick our
roster off Hard Knocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of like Chef's ready to make Riley Bullough like the second string starting Mike. Like, he can't get out of here without a roster spot. Well, I don't know about that. I like his leadership, but it all comes down to spaces and availability. He's, I definitely think he's going to get a spot on the practice squad. But this show just might make him too popular where the Bucks don't think they could hide him. So, maybe, but I'm definitely not like penciling him in as one of the 5/6 linebackers yet.
Right. But that's the effect, because we see what Riley's doing and we're going, hey, I like that. I like that attitude. I like what he's bringing to the team. And that's great. You can be this leader and have this mouth. Can he actually hit? Can he actually tackle? Is he able to rise above the third string status when it actually comes to playing, not just what he brings to the locker room, but can he also do it on the field? You got to have both, right? So
you know the difference between there, and there.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and hopefully most of our listeners do as well. So, I mean, that's a real interesting thing.
Sorry, did I sidetrack you?
No, well, I was just gonna say, it's almost kind of like how we pick our presidents in this country. It's just by whatever the media edits together and tells us. But I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there at all. Even though what I think was just said is true. Hey, let's talk about Swaggy for just a second.
Sure.
How about Swaggy trying to get in the head of both our kickers throughout this episode?
I saw that. That was like second day in pads. I think that was like my second or third training camp day. I definitely remember him seeing it, and I sort of felt, being from afar away from that shot, it felt like he was just sort of hamming it up for the cameras, to be honest with you. Like, the whole entire team, like, they had the guys lined up. there was a defense, but they weren't really putting any pressure, trying to block the field goal at all. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the team was a good 10, 15 yards away, except for Chris Baker, who was like
there,
3 yards behind the kickers and talking crap to both of them, and 2 yards away from Baker was the Hard Knocks crew, and that went on for like 10 minutes. Like the whole entire kicking thing, he was there. So it was fun to see what he actually said. If the coaches are cool with it, then I'm cool with it. But I definitely think it was a hamming it up moment for the cameras, especially, like I said, seeing it from I was like 50 yards away in the stands when it happened, and it was just sort of like Chris Baker, the Hard Knocks crew, and the kickers. It was just it looked a little contrived to me, but whatever. It was a fun moment.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was a fun moment. How about a not so fun moment? And this is really, I think, the last note that I personally have. But we got to see a little bit more detail into Grimes's injury. We saw Grimes out there on the field today, not practicing. He was kind of coaching a little bit. He was right alongside Mike Smith today for practice, but got to see the injury a little bit more and kind of get more detail on what it was, or to kind of see how that went down. What do you think about that? Because I kind of felt like it was just the right amount of detail. And they showed the conversation between Light and Dirk about, hey, listen, that's a deep gash. Let's leave him at home. Let's leave him here. Not take him to Cincinnati. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I want to see on Hard Knocks. Like I want to see those, behind closed doors conversations.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was done. I thought it was fine. It didn't get too gruesome with it. There was sort of a picture of the gash. It was sort of like Miko's phone that had a picture on it, and there was a picture of that. But they sort of set it where the glare was on there, and it was really fuzzy. But some of the things were, like I heard Dirk said, you could see the white, which means like the bone, like. Mm-hmm. It was blah.
Yeah,
it was blah. And I've watched the replay a bunch of times, and then even the new angle we got tonight, I still can't see what happened.
You're right. Yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was his cleat or somebody else's spike. Like I don't know, but I did see today when we were at Jags practice, and like you said, Brent was back there sort of playing free safety with Mike Smith as Mike Smith was calling the plays. That you watch Brent, he's always moving like between drills, and even if he's not in a drill, he's on the side and has a coach like throwing him the ball, and he's doing like interception drills or breaking on the ball drills, or he's just over there sort of juggling the football like a soccer player would, sort of playing I guess pepper with it. And at one point, the ball hit his bandage, where he's stitched up, and he sort of went down and messed with it for a second, and then he didn't juggle the ball rest of practice. So
I missed that, but okay.
Yeah, it was very slight. I just happened to be watching, and even if the stands were all Bucs fans, I'm not sure how many people would have seen it. Since it was probably only about 10-15% Buc fans in the stands today. You just really had to be looking for it. And not only that, you had to know who the player was, and you had to know why he wasn't playing, and you had to know why the little square patch on his leg, what that was. You had to know the whole story. And it was just for a brief moment. So it's like he sort of banged his stitches with the ball. It was kind of like, okay, that's dumb. I'm going to quit doing that. But he looks fine. Like if he had to, if it was a playoff game tomorrow, he's in.
I think if it was just a regular season game, he would be in, to be honest.
It depends on who we're playing. Patriots, yeah. Bears, nah. Jets,
well, there you go.
Nah.
I got to be honest, when we saw him out at practice today, I had forgotten about the cut on his leg because, like we said, he was standing in the middle of the field, in the middle of the action, and he looked fine running around,
Yeah.
There was one moment where I kind of looked up and I noticed it was like, oh, he's not out there anymore, and I just figured he went somewhere else. It's possible he was kind of dealing with I just hurt my stitches. But I like seeing like how Miko was responding to that and what that meant for the family. Like I did enjoy seeing that part of it. While I really didn't necessarily care so much for the other, and it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that's not necessarily what I want out of a Hard Knocks episode. I did like this part of it because it certainly affects them all. And the other thing about Miko, for all the crap that Miko can get and for everything that she can bring to an organization with her mouth and her Twitter account, I liked seeing the personal relationship that she had with didn't we see her talking to Dirk at one point?
I know she was talking to Jason.
Or Jason, yeah, it might have been Jason. Like she seems really in with this team, and I personally liked seeing that. Again,
she loves Mike Smith.
Oh yeah.
Back from Atlanta.
Right.
Atlanta.
Yeah, that's right. I just everything notwithstanding, let me just say I'm glad that they're on our team. I'm glad they're on our side and not the other side of the ball.
Yeah, and just what I like to say as well, I'm with you. I can, deal without dropping an F-bomb, 3 times in a sentence. That's just how I am. But those two are a team. Like they're Team Brent Grimes, and she is behind her man like 100%. And does all the little things to make sure that he's ready and keeps him happy. And I mean, those guys are attached at the hip.
Keeps him happy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But but those two are attached to the hip, and they've got a plan. And obviously, it's working. The guy's 32 years old, and he's playing like he's 26. So kudos to them for their relationship. And they've sort of figured out how to survive in the NFL as a couple and survive for a long time. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, I think that really everything that I had, that covers all the notes that I had that stood out to me of things I wanted to talk about. Did you have anything else maybe that we haven't hit on yet? No, actually, I didn't take any notes. I was so exhausted. I was just gonna play it by ear. So, no, I think that I got all the ones. The ones that popped in my head since we've been on, I've written down, and we've checked them all off. So, is there anything in the chat room that we missed?
This one just came up of saying wanted to see a little bit more of Marpet, making sure that he's doing well. He sat out injured and sat out during that first preseason game. Marpet, he's in practice. He's looking fine, looking like he's doing really well. Sweezy, mentioning they're wanting to see a little bit of Sweezy. He had a little bit of a cameo to kind of talking to Jameis where they're showing love to each other. Already say, I love you, man. I love you too, fam. They had that today. But I'd like to see a little bit more of Sweezy as well.
It's funny how the people that we thought were going to be sort of the stars, or us as fans, you could pull 100 people. Like, who's going to be star of Hard Knocks besides Jameis? 90% of those people would have said either Quan or Ali, and we have seen nothing of either so far. Right. It doesn't mean they're not coming, but it's those guys just have such big personalities. Ali's sort of more of the corn-fed. Dope de dope de dope de dope. Just I'm not trying to say he's dumb, but wide-eyed, innocent, frugal, drives like a crappy car, still eats off paper plates, and has all this money. Type of
he doesn't actually realize how much money he has right now,
or he just doesn't want it. Like, he doesn't care about it,
right?
Like I read that thing about Gronkowski one time where he hasn't spent a dime of his salary. He lives his whole entire life off his endorsements. Like, he's never spent a penny, and that's just the way he approaches his life. And then Quan is just, once people start hearing him talk and how electric he is, and he was Riley Bullough before Riley Bullough,
right?
And and he's a better athlete. So I hope we get to see those two guys.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this out there. If there's any Hard Knocks people listening, any of you guys at NFL Films, if it would not be a bad idea to have, someone who is familiar with the people around the Bucks and around the storylines from a fan's perspective, who knows who they want to hear about. So I will volunteer my services to act as a consultant to point you in the right direction of the people that we think that other people should be around. But no, yeah, I agree with you. Certainly, Allie. I think we talked a little bit earlier about the Allie and Donovan show. I just feel like that's they've got to have something on film of those two guys cutting up, and something of these guys, something that's going to be fun. I do feel like they're probably missing some of the storylines, and some of the better storylines, for sake of some of the ones that are actually making it onto camera. So yeah, it could be it'd be an interesting thing to see what they'll do with that.
True talk.
So, all right, Ren. Well, I think that's really going to wrap us up for the show. We've kind of hit our time here. Had a couple people call in. That's a show. That's an episode of Hard Knocks. And this is Talking Knocks. So, any other final thoughts before we sign off here? And why don't you tell us where people can find you out on the internets?
Final thoughts, just gave them. So easiest way is find me at Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. Always down to talk Bucks football. And I'm always looking to follow more Buccaneers fans on Twitter. Anyone I can find, I follow.
There you go. And I am Brent Allen. You can find me at Brent Allen Live personally, or follow the show at the PewterCast, or the Talking Knocks show at Talking Knocks. And then kind of our mothership, our umbrella podcast, the PewterCast. You can follow us there as well. You can shoot us emails to thepewtercast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/the PewterCast. Please definitely interact with us. Check out everything that we have going on over at the PewterCast. We've got this show right here, Talking Knocks, which is coming to you every Tuesday night following the East Coast airing of Hard Knocks on HBO. We've got our InstantCast show, which feels a lot like this show, right here on mixler.com/the PewterCast. That'll be coming up after all of the games. You can give your raw, unfettered thoughts of what we just saw. We've got our main episodes that come out where we'll be diving in deep to recount the games and talk about what happened there. And we also have this little thing that might be wrapping up here in the next week or so, Ren, that has been called Training Camp Journal with Ren Daxt. Ren, tell us a little bit about that.
I've been to training camp every single day I've been allowed. Pretty much every single day the media has been allowed as well. I missed the Military Appreciation Day, and basically it's sort of like a boots on the ground fan from the stands point of view. What's going on? Sort of an overlook. If you were going to go to a training camp as a fan on day X, I sort of give you like a 30-minute to 50-minute audio library of this is what you could expect. We weren't really sure how this was going to go, but people seem to like them. They find them entertaining and informative. So we only got 3 left. Brent was nice enough to fill in the past 2 for the Jacksonville, I believe episodes 12 and 13, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, 11 and 12,
11,
sorry.
11 and 12?
Yeah, 11 and 12.
Leaving 13 for me? Might have to jump straight to 14. Or 12B. So, yeah, it's just sort of like approaching training camp, not sort of like what the reporters do is all this person did that and that person did that, which there is, but I keep you updated on how the outdoor or indoor facilities going, and just other things that sort of catch my eye. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's rounding out. And you like Brent says, you can find them all under the PewterCast umbrella family podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys make sure you check us out there. We've just got a ton of stuff that is happening here through the month of August. So with that, I guess we're going to get out of here. And as we end every single show, go Bucks.